prizes if you have not. Well, for a start, this blue building here is called the Swedish Concert House. Now, I'm not here to talk to you about classical Swedish music. I'll be honest, I know absolutely nothing about it. Unless you class Ace of Base as classical, I still do. But December 10 every year is the only day that these market men have a holiday. The world's media descends down to this square, for inside this building is one of two places in the world the Nobel Prizes are handed out. Sorry, that's the coffee shop. Inside this building here, the wrong one. There's a big hall in there, you get the idea. Most of us have heard of the Nobel Prizes. If you have not, they're named in honour of this gentleman. According to the source I got this image from, that is Alfred Nobel in his laboratory. Maybe he was inventing his most famous invention, which was dynamite. I like to tell people that's Alfred Nobel applying for Breaking Bad, season 1860. Next to him is a photocopy of a Nobel medal. If you were ever good enough to win one day, that is what you can have on your mantelpiece. So, who was Alfred Nobel? Well, he was a gentleman in the early 1860s that had this big fascination to blow stuff up. The most common compound used back then, a very highly sensitive compound they called nitroglycerin. It had the tendency to ignite if you shook it or if you dropped it. 1867, he invented a more stable alternative to this nitroglycerin. We call it dynamite. It single-handedly transformed the construction and the mining industry for the better. But this is where he gathered majority of his wealth from. They estimate if he passed away today, his estate would be valued at about 267 million US dollars. That's a lot of money. But he never had a son. He never had a daughter. No one to inherit this vast fortune. He came so close once to starting a family of his own. He was engaged to this lady, but this lady cheated on him with a mathematician, and apparently that's the only reason you'll never ever see any Nobel Prizes handed out in the field of mathematics. Don't trust us mathematicians, we don't make any sense whatsoever. But in 1888, Alfred Nobel was getting on in years, and he was wondering what sort of legacy had he left behind. He created dynamite, he had 305 different patents, and he had factories in every single continent around the world. He had the chance to find out what the world thought of him, more specifically, what one newspaper editor thought of him. His elder brother, Ludwig Nobel, was an oil tycoon in this city called Baku. He had passed away, Alfred Nobel's brother had passed away, Alfred Nobel was reading the morning newspaper, and the editor of this newspaper got his wires crossed. He thought it was Alfred Nobel that died, not his brother Ludwig Nobel. So the death notice, or the obituary inside the newspaper, was on Alfred Nobel himself. That's strange. Imagine tomorrow, flicking through the pages, page 5 says I'm dead. I'm pretty sure I'm alive here. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Anyway, in big black font, the headline of the obituary said, "The merchant of death is dead." Why did they refer to him as a merchant of death? That's not very nice, is it? Well, dynamite was also used in warfare, directly responsible for killing millions of people around the world. He was a big advocate for peace. Him and his advisors got together, they created what is now known as the Nobel Foundation, set up, quote, to reward people that have done good for humanity. 95% of that 267 million US dollars was left to the foundation. They still live off that today via very savvy investments. But on December 10, 1901, to mark the 5th anniversary of Alfred Nobel's actual death, the first Nobel ceremony took place. Let's fast forward to this year. If you're lucky enough, good enough to win a Nobel Prize, you come inside this building. There are 4 original Nobel Prizes handed out here in the field of physics, medicine, chemistry and literature. The 5th Nobel Prize, that is the field of economics. Most Swedish people tell me, Ryan, that's not a real one, it's a fake one, first set up in 1969 and sponsored by the Royal Bank of Sweden. But if you really want to annoy any educated, they don't have to be educated, but if you really want to annoy any Swedish person, I like annoying Swedish people, it's good fun. If you want to annoy any Swedish person, you tell them the only Nobel Prize you care about in your home country is the Peace Prize. Now, they don't like the Peace Prize one little bit. Number 1, it is handed out in Oslo in Norway. Number 2, some very dubious winners in the past have accepted this honour. Number 3, some very dubious nominees past and present have been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. I have an opinion, you're all entitled to it, so I'll tell you what it is. I have 3 worst nominations in the history of the Nobel Peace Prize. My opinion, start from 3, work the way down. Third worst, 1939. There's a guy from India called Gandhi. Gandhi should have won a Nobel Peace Prize. He never won, but that was the 4th and final time he was nominated. He was up against another fellow whose name was Adolf Hitler. Hitler invaded Poland. They cancelled that Peace Prize event, so Gandhi never won. Hitler is the 3rd worst nomination in the history of Nobel Peace Prize, in my personal opinion. The 2nd worst is a guy who goes by, I call him Donald Duck. I think his surname's Trump, actually. But before he won, there we go. That didn't take long, did it? Glad you're away. Anyway, if you support him, I'm sorry. I literally am so sorry. But if you don't, that's all right. That's all right. Thank you. All right, so there was 2 weeks ago, 10 people from, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but there we go. 10 people from Alabama Mother, father, 8 kids. When do you stop? I don't know. Anyway, they said they didn't like what I said about Donald Trump. They left, and there goes half the group. See you later. Anyway. So before Donald Trump became president of the United States of America, some idiot in America actually nominated him for a Nobel Peace Prize. So here's the second worst in 2016. Worst was to come in 2017 after he was president of the United States of America. The same idiot nominated the same idiot again. Donald Trump was nominated 2 years running for Nobel Peace Prize. If he wins a Nobel Peace Prize, I will give up on humanity, alive or dead. I'll donate my body to science or the hot dog man. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, why does Norway get the Peace Prize? We get the other 5. On December 10, 1901, that stage politically, Sweden and Norway were in a very nice, happy union together. That is by far the Swedish perspective. If you ever make it to Oslo in Norway, they'll tell you we were occupying them since 1814. I would prefer to use the term nice, happy union. And there's rumours that Norway wanted to break away from this union, so they thought, we give them the Peace Prize to hand out, surely they'll keep this union together. That plan worked well for 4 years. 1905, Norway woke up, there was no war. They took all the coloured jumpers, the forest, all the best skiers. They signed a document, they became independent. About 20 years after that, they discovered petroleum. Now they are the richest, most expensive country in all of Europe. This is actually how you annoy all Swedish people. You tell them the tank of petrol, tank of gas in your car comes from the oil fields in Norway. In that agreement in 1905, we got the meatballs, they got the oil, you can't win them all, can you? Anyway, if you do win a Nobel Prize, you come in here, get to meet the King of Sweden, that's pretty sweet. We'll shake your hand, say, hey, congratulations, put a medal around your neck. Give you a prize check for 9 million Swedish crowns. It used to be 8 million Swedish crowns, maybe they invested in Bitcoin, now it's 9 million Swedish crowns for the rest of the days. 3 ways for you to meet the King of Sweden. Win yourself a Nobel Prize. Sorry, mate, it's pretty unrealistic. The most realistic chance you have of meeting the King of Sweden, put your hand in your pocket, take out the coins, he's on the back of all of them, or you could have done what a gym trainer did in 2002. And that is, you date his daughter for a few months, and unsuccessfully, for the first time, you ask the King for his daughter's hand in marriage. We're going to change things up a little bit. I want to show you 2 places you can find Swedish love this weekend, but even if you're not here for Swedish love, 2 places you can try and find friends in Stockholm. Let's see if we can find any today. I doubt it, but we'll try.